March 2020 taught you the wrong lesson. You learned people panic buy and shelves empty. What you didn't learn is how much worse it gets when the trucks stop coming back. Toilet paper shortages were irritating. Running out of ammunition during a kinetic conflict is fatal. There's a difference between "I can't find Lysol wipes" and "I can't protect my family." Most people assume they'll have warning. They picture gradual escalation, time to prepare, weeks of news cycles before things get serious. That's not what the data shows. When major conflicts begin, certain items disappear from civilian markets in less than 48 hours, sometimes less than 12. We ranked them: 10 security items that vanish first, based on historical pattern analysis, supply chain fragility, and basic human psychology under stress. Here's the list. Most people think they'll walk into REI when tensions escalate. They picture themselves calmly browsing the camping aisle, maybe asking an employee where the water filters are, loading up a cart with essentials. Methodical, prepared, maybe a little early compared to their neighbors, but not panicked. You know what happens to that plan? Your average sporting goods store stocks maybe 150 gas masks, 200 water filtration systems if they just got a shipment, 300 boxes of ammunition across all calibers if you're lucky. That's the entire inventory for your metro area of 500,000 people. Do the math. If even 1% of the population decides to prepare, that's 5,000 people competing for 200 units of gear. The first 4% through the door get what they need. Everyone else gets a lesson in supply and demand. Here's what most people miss. There's a psychological lag between when news breaks and when the average person acts. We call it the herd delay, 6 to 48 hours for most people. They hear the news. They think about it. They talk to their spouse. They check social media to see if other people are worried. They convince themselves it's probably fine. Then they wake up the next morning and decide maybe they should grab a few things, just in case. By then, it's over. February 24th, 2022. Russia invades Ukraine. Polish border towns sold out of potassium iodide tablets in 12 hours. Not 12 days, 12 hours. Because a small percentage of people don't wait for permission to act. They hear the news and move immediately. The rest wait to see if it's serious. So we developed a framework. 3 layers that determine what disappears and how fast. Layer 1. Visibility. How obvious is it that you need this item? High visibility means high competition. Everyone knows you need water. Everyone remembers they need batteries. These items vanish first. Layer 2. Utility density. Does this item solve an immediate critical survival problem? Can you use it without extensive training or infrastructure? High utility, low barrier to use equals fast depletion. Layer 3. Shelf stability. Can retailers restock this quickly? Or does it depend on international supply chains, specialized manufacturing, hazmat restrictions? If the supply line is brittle, the shortage becomes permanent. You need to beat the herd by weeks, not hours. By the time your neighbors are panicking, the shelves are already empty. By the time the news tells you to prepare, you're already too late. So we analyzed the pattern. 3 modern conflicts, 6 supply chain collapses, decades of preparedness industry data. Here's what always goes first. Here's how we evaluated these items. 3 criteria that determine scarcity risk. First, visibility. Is it obvious you need this? High visibility means high competition. When CNN shows footage of refugees fleeing a war zone, what are they carrying? Water bottles? Backpacks? Blankets? Within hours, every store in a 200-mile radius sells out of those exact items because everyone saw the same footage and drew the same conclusions. Second, utility density. Does this item solve a critical survival problem with minimal training or infrastructure? A water filter works immediately. You don't need a degree. You don't need to build anything. High utility, low barrier to entry equals maximum demand. Third, supply brittleness. Can retailers restock this quickly, or does it depend on international supply chains, specialized manufacturing, hazmat restrictions? If it takes 6 months to manufacture and ship from overseas, The shortage becomes permanent the moment demand spikes. We scored every item on all 3 layers. Then we ranked them. First tier, the obvious targets. Items 10 through 7. Number 10. Water filtration systems. The portable kind, life straw-style units that fit in a backpack. Why it disappears fast. Everyone knows the rule. 3 days without water, and you're dead. It's drilled into every survival article, every disaster prep guide, high visibility. The moment conflict starts, people remember they need water. The supply reality. Most of these systems are manufactured overseas: Vietnam, China, Taiwan. Long lead times, complex supply chains. Your local REI carries maybe 50 units on a good day. Academy Sports has 80. Cabela's might have 200 if they just restocked. That's it. That's the entire metropolitan inventory. March 11, 2011. Earthquake hits Japan. Tokyo stores sold out of water filtration systems in 8 hours. Not because the water supply failed immediately, because people knew it might. The catch. Most people buy these and never test them. They sit in a closet until the crisis hits. Then you discover the filter's clogged, or the seal's degraded, or you don't actually know how to use it under pressure. Number 9. Propane canisters. The small 1-pound camping size. Utility profile. Heat, cooking, light, all without electricity. You can boil water, cook food, stay warm. Simple to use. No special knowledge required. Supply brittleness. Propane is classified as hazardous material. Fire codes limit how much retailers can keep on the floor. Most sporting goods stores stock 100 to 200 canisters maximum. Warehouses can't stockpile them in bulk. Transportation restrictions mean resupply is slow even in normal times. Retail reality. When people panic, they grab these first because they're obvious, cheap, and immediately useful. During the Texas freeze of 2021, Houston sold out in 36 hours. Wasn't even a war, just a weather event. The catch. The 1-pound canisters are convenient but expensive per BTU. Bulk propane in 20-pound tanks is more efficient, but requires equipment most people don't own yet. By the time you decide to buy a proper camping stove or heater, those are gone too. Number 8. Antibiotics, specifically the gray market kind. Fish antibiotics, veterinary amoxicillin. Why it's on the list. Medical systems collapse fast during major conflicts. Hospitals prioritize trauma. Pharmacies run out of common prescriptions within days. Chronic conditions become acute. Infections that would be minor in peacetime become life-threatening when you can't see a doctor. The supply chain reality. Most antibiotics are manufactured in India or China. Just-in-time pharmaceutical supply chains are already fragile. Add a major conflict and the pipeline shuts down completely. Domestic stockpiles are reserved for military and critical infrastructure. The legal gray area. Fish antibiotics are available over the counter. Same chemical compound as human prescriptions. Same dosages, just packaged for aquarium use. Technically legal to buy. Debatable whether it's legal to use on humans. That ambiguity disappears fast when the government starts monitoring bulk purchases. COVID showed the pattern. Prescription backlogs developed within weeks of the initial lockdowns, not because manufacturing stopped, but because demand spiked and nobody had buffer inventory. Multiply that by 10 for an actual war. The catch. Requires knowledge to dose correctly. Expiration dates matter. Storage conditions are critical. Most people buy these, stick them in a drawer, and assume they'll figure it out later. They won't. And expired antibiotics aren't just useless, they're potentially dangerous. Number 7. Two-way radios. GMRS, FRS, ham equipment. Strategic value. When cell towers fail, communication becomes survival. Coordinating with family, neighbors, community. Knowing what's happening beyond your immediate area. The difference between isolated and networked. Visibility, moderate. Serious preppers already own these. Casual preppers don't prioritize them until it's too late. They assume cell phones will keep working. They won't. Supply chain. Almost entirely manufactured in Asia. Semiconductor chips in short supply, even in normal times. Best Buy carries maybe 30 to 50 units of decent models. Once those are gone, there's no resupply. The licensing angle. Ham radio requires an FCC license. Getting one takes time and study. During a crisis, nobody's administering license tests. You either have one before things start, or you're operating illegally and hoping nobody cares. September 2017. Hurricane Maria hits Puerto Rico. Cell towers down for months. Ham radio operators were the only functional long-range communication for weeks. The people who had radios and knew how to use them became infrastructure. Everyone else was deaf. The catch. Completely useless without practice. You can own a $500 radio and still not know which frequency to use, which repeaters are active, or how to reach anyone. Radios require community networks established beforehand. You're not building that network during the crisis. You're activating the network you built years ago. I know what you're thinking. Why not just buy all of this right now? Skip the analysis. Max out a credit card. Fill a storage unit with gear. Budget constraints. Most people can't drop $10,000 on preparedness overnight. They have mortgages, car payments, kids. Prep spending competes with rent, storage space. Urban apartment dwellers face hard limits. You can't stockpile 500 pounds of gear in a 700-square-foot apartment. Even suburban homes fill up fast. Rotation and maintenance. Stockpiles require active management. Batteries corrode. Medications expire. Food spoils. Water containers grow algae. You need systems to rotate inventory, track dates, maintain readiness. Most people buy once and forget. Opportunity cost. Money in gear is money not in skills, community, or mobility. A $5,000 stockpile is worthless if you don't know how to use it. Nobody will help you protect it, and you can't move it when the threat shifts. The smarter play. Tiered acquisition. Tier 1. Items that vanish in hours. The top 3 on this list. Buy immediately. Don't wait for confirmation. Don't wait for sales. Position yourself before the herd moves. Tier 2. Items that vanish in days. Middle of the list. Acquire within weeks. Monitor prices. Build inventory strategically. Tier 3. Items that vanish in weeks. Lower priority. Watch for threats. Buy when indicators shift. This list isn't a shopping cart. It's a threat assessment. Prioritize accordingly. Number 6. Batteries. AA, AAA, D-cell alkaline. Why it's critical. Everything runs on batteries when the grid fails. Flashlights, radios, medical devices, night vision if you're sophisticated. No batteries means your gear is decorative. Supply reality. Batteries are manufactured in a handful of factories globally. Duracell, Energizer, Panasonic. Severe shortage develops in any major disruption. Retailers hesitate to overstock because shelf life creates inventory risk. The math problem. Average household needs 50 to 100 batteries for a month of basic operation. Your city has 500,000 people. That's 125,000 households. That's 6.25 million batteries minimum. Your local Walmart stocks may be 2,000 across all sizes. September 2017. Hurricane Irma approaches Florida. Stores sold out of batteries 72 hours before landfall. Not during the crisis. 3 days before, when it was still offshore and people were still debating whether to evacuate. The catch. Batteries are heavy and expensive to stockpile in quantity. 100 AA batteries weighs 5 pounds and costs $50. Scale that to a year's supply, and you're looking at serious money and storage space. Rechargeable batteries require power sources. Solar chargers work, but add complexity and failure points. Most people underestimate how many batteries they actually need until they're sitting in the dark, doing the math. Now the list gets interesting. Items 5 through 4, separate casual preppers from people who've actually studied collapse scenarios. Number 5. Trauma supplies. Chest seals, Israeli bandages, quick clot, occlusive dressings. Why it's critical, but not obvious. Modern warfare means blast injuries, fragmentation wounds, penetrating trauma. Civilian hospitals get overwhelmed instantly. ERS become triage centers. If you can't stop bleeding in the first 3 minutes, survival odds drop dramatically. The visibility problem. Most people think first aid means Band-Aids and Neosporin. They don't think about sucking chest wounds or arterial bleeds. These items aren't on the casual prepper's radar until they see combat footage and realize what's actually required. Supply chain, specialized medical supplies, not consumer retail. Manufacturers prioritize military contracts and EMS suppliers. Civilian tactical shops carry limited stock. North American Rescue, TACMed, a handful of others. You're not finding this at CVS. February 24th, 2022. Russia invades Ukraine. Kiev's civilian trauma supply exhausted in 96 hours. Not weeks. 4 days. Because suddenly, every civilian wanted to know how to treat gunshot wounds and shrapnel injuries. Skills requirement. Completely useless without stop-the-bleed training. You need to know wound packing, pressure application, when to use a tourniquet versus a pressure dressing. Equipment without competence is just expensive garbage in a bag. The catch. Individual units cost $15 to $40. Building a proper trauma kit means $200 minimum. Most people won't spend that until they need it. By then, suppliers are sold out and shipping delays stretch to months. Number 4. Potassium iodide tablets. Specific threat profile. Nuclear plant damage or tactical nuclear weapon use. Ki protects your thyroid from radioactive iodine. Single use case, but that case is catastrophic. Why it vanishes. Extreme visibility during nuclear scares. March 2011. Fukushima melts down. Global potassium iodide shortage develops within days. People in California bought it. People in Europe bought it. Rational or not, the fear drives demand. February 2022. Ukraine conflict begins. Russian nuclear threats increase. European pharmacies sold out of Ki tablets in 48 hours. Suppliers couldn't manufacture fast enough to meet demand. Supply reality. Handful of manufacturers globally. Production scaling takes months. Once panic buying starts, you're competing with entire nations trying to stockpile for their populations. The catch. Only protects your thyroid from radioiodine. Useless against other forms of radiation. Useless if you take it wrong. Time-sensitive dosing matters. Take it too early, it wears off. Take it too late, damage is done. Requires understanding the threat timeline. Geographic calculation. If you're not near nuclear facilities, strategic targets, or likely fallout zones, this drops in priority. But if you are in those zones, and you wait until the threat is obvious, you won't find it. The top 3 items represent a different category entirely. These don't just disappear from shelves. They become contraband, rationed, or weaponized by authorities. Number 3. Diesel fuel, stored in approved containers and tanks. Why it's number 3. Civilization runs on diesel trucks. Food distribution, supply chains, emergency services. Military requisitions civilian diesel immediately during major conflicts. What's left gets rationed fast. Historical pattern. 1970s oil crisis. Rationing within weeks. 1990, Gulf War buildup. Military commandeered civilian fuel supplies. 2022 Europe. Diesel prices spiked 300%, and governments implemented emergency fuel controls. Storage regulations. Fire codes limit quantity. Most jurisdictions restrict residential storage to 25 or 50 gallons. Larger quantities require permits, inspections, specialized tanks. Civilian stockpiling gets monitored. The catch. Diesel stores 12 to 18 months with stabilizer additives. Beyond that, it degrades. You're rotating inventory constantly or accepting degraded fuel when you need it most. Number 2. Body armor. Plates, plate carriers, helmets. Strategic value. Difference between casualty and survivor in kinetic environments. Rifle-rated plates stop threats that soft armor can't. Why it vanishes. Government restrictions kick in fast. February 24th, 2022. Ukraine banned civilian sales of body armor 24 hours after invasion. Needed it for military. Civilian stockpiles became illegal overnight. Supply chain. Specialized manufacturing. Aramid fiber. Ceramic plates. NIJ certification. Long lead times even in peacetime. Major manufacturers like RMA, HESCO, HICOM can't scale fast enough during surges. The catch. Expensive. Level 4 plates run $300 to $800 per set. Carriers cost another $150 to $400. Complete setup with helmet approaches $2,000. Heavy. Ceramic plates weigh 8 pounds each. Requires training to wear effectively. May become illegal to possess. Number 1. Ammunition. Common calibers. 9mm, 5.56, .308, 12 gauge. Why it's number 1. Highest utility density for security. Impossible to improvise. Extreme supply brittleness. Defense, hunting, barter. Everything depends on this. Manufacturing bottleneck. Primers, powder, brass, bullets. Each component has single-source vulnerabilities. 2020 proved this. Single pandemic panic and 9mm vanished for 18 months. Retail reality. Gun shops stock 5,000 to 20,000 rounds total across all calibers. City of 500,000 people equals instant depletion. Historical pattern. Every modern conflict sees civilian ammunition sales restricted or banned immediately. Ukraine, Syria, Kosovo. Yugoslav wars, same pattern. The catch. Legally murky to stockpile large quantities. Expensive, secure storage required, may be confiscated under emergency powers. But here's what the list doesn't tell you. Having this list doesn't make you prepared. A list is intelligence, not a survival strategy. 3 failure modes of people who have the list but still fail. Failure mode 1. The procrastinator. I'll buy it when things get serious. By the time things are obviously serious, shelves are empty. You don't get a warning siren. You get a news headline and a stampede. The window between "this might be serious" and "too late to act" is measured in hours. Failure mode 2. The hoarder without skills. Owns $10,000 in gear. Can't use any of it. Trauma kit but no training. Bleeds out because they don't know wound packing. Radio but no license or practice. Can't reach anyone when they need help. Ammunition, but no range time. Misses when it matters. Gear without competence is expensive paperweight. Failure mode 3. The lone wolf. Stockpiled alone, no community, no mutual aid. Can't guard supplies 24/7. Single point of failure, get sick, get injured, you're done. No network for trade, intelligence, or defense. Isolation is a death sentence dressed up as self-reliance. The actual strategy. 3 things that work together or don't work at all. Buy top-tier items immediately. Items 1 through 3, before any warning signs, before your neighbors panic, before CNN talks about shortages. Position yourself ahead of the curve. Acquire skills now. Training is more valuable than gear. Take Stop the Bleed. Study for ham license. Get regular range time. Learn to use what you own. Build community relationships. Network before crisis. Know your neighbors. Join preparedness groups. Establish mutual aid agreements. Find people with complementary skills. Network is security. The window between obvious and too late is shorter than you think. Minutes, not days. By the time most people realize what's happening, the opportunity to prepare has closed. So here's what you do. Not later. Now. First, acquire top 3 items from this list immediately. Ammunition? Body armor if legal in your jurisdiction. Fuel storage capability. Don't wait for confirmation. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for sales or better prices. Position yourself before the herd moves. The difference between surviving and becoming a statistic is acting before the crisis becomes obvious. Second, get training for the gear you buy. Stop the bleed course for trauma supplies. Takes 4 hours. Study for ham technician license. Takes a weekend. Regular range time for firearms. Monthly minimum. Water filtration practice. Know how your system actually works under pressure. Gear you can't use is just expensive decoration. Third, build acquisition timeline for remaining items. Tier your purchases. Budget monthly prep spending. Don't blow life savings on paranoia, but don't procrastinate into unpreparedness. Items 4 through 10 acquired over 6 months puts you ahead of 95% of the population. Fourth, establish community connections now. Join local ham radio club. Take CERT training. Know your neighbors' names and skills. Find people with complementary capabilities. Medical, mechanical, agricultural. Network before crisis. You can't build trust while everything's collapsing. You activate relationships that already exist. The cascade doesn't announce itself. You won't get a courtesy call. First indication is empty shelves and panicked crowds. By the time CNN reports panic buying, you're already too late. By the time your neighbors start preparing, the window has closed. The people who survive position themselves before the crisis. The people who die wait for permission, wait for confirmation, wait for consensus. They wait until everyone agrees it's serious. By then, survival becomes lottery instead of strategy. 10 items, 3 layers of scarcity, 1 window of opportunity. Your move.